So it's March 13th and it's snowing. I guess we're technically still in, you know, what is defined as winter, but not a fan. Anyway, a thought. I'm listening to NPR, and of course, somebody's rambling on about the two candidates we currently have, Biden and Trump, complaining about both of them, their age, um, and all of this. And I've been thinking for a while about why we have parties. I mean, really, not the, you know, Illuminati kind of ideas that there's a secret, right, a cabal that's controlling everything and appears to have two parties so that we have, you know, some semblance of um, that there's a political sort of fight going on and distracting and dividing us. Further than that, I think it comes down to the fact that we have a really hard time um, finding ways to connect with people of opposing beliefs sheerly from the lack of trying, the lack of creativity. And so I did what I guess kind of a sort of um, thought experiment, and it goes like this. Let's take a topic, and so let's take abortion, because this is seemingly one of those topics that just is um, not something that can be resolved. Let's take abortion, and let's try to come up with first, let's come up with a kind of I don't know, kind of like a fictional, um, theoretical uh, place where both parties can come to and agree on. And I think this is important, okay? Because even though this answer to the problem is not viable right now, it at least shows a willingness to exercise that creativity in a way that looks for a possible answer. Now, it may not be possible for us to achieve this answer right now. It could very well be possible in the future. And so, let me show you what I mean by this. Okay, the people on the no abortion side, right? The more right perspective. When I was younger, I used to be uh, quite. I used to be on the right. Um, so I was raised in a Republican religious household, and so the way I thought was very much right oriented. As I've gotten older, I've become more liberal with my thinking, um, and now I have become more, um, what would be a good word, whole in my thinking. I don't consider myself right or left. I consider myself um, humanity centric, right? Human centric, seeing us as a whole. And so if there's a problem like abortion, we need to exercise creative potentials, like exercise our ability to really kind of come up with some creative means of addressing both sides. So, okay, the right side, the more Republican side. The argument is more often than not a religious argument. That's right. When does a soul enter the human? At conception, at birth, somewhere in between, at the first neuron firing in the brain. Okay, so let's take this seriously though. Let's assume that there really is a spiritual or something akin to that side to reality. And let's assume that taking a life, even though it hasn't been born yet, is a bad thing, is in the grand scheme of things something damaging to that specific soul's progress or whatever. And let's just assume that this possibility is a real possibility. It very well may be a real possibility, right? Okay, we're assuming this. That's a concern for the right? That's part of the concern is that it is a life. It has been given, like God has breathed life into that. It's the God has given that new life form a soul or universal energy or whatever you want to call it. Okay, that's a fair argument given the belief structure. You don't want to allow rampant murdering, right, under this pretense. Okay? If there is a God, he's not going to be very happy about it. If there's not a God, it's damaging for the soul, whatever. We can theorize all day about the potentials here, but my point is that we're trying to see it from the Republican perspective. Now, there are some people that simply don't believe in a spiritual reality, but still are anti-abortion, that just they think it's wrong. Once life has been germinated, once the zygote has been fertilized, or once the egg has become a zygote, it has a right to continue to exist. And so that's another perspective to take. Now, if we go to the left side, well, there's a lot of arguments against abortion as well, right? You don't want to force a 14-year-old kid just because they screwed up once and had sex, at a party, or people that have been raped. This is another big argument on the left. Somebody who has been raped should not be forced to carry the child of the raper. Like that is so problematic on so many levels. Further, the left concludes or proclaims that we don't have proof for a spiritual reality. Okay? We need to focus on what we see, what is here, what is now. If somebody doesn't want to take on the responsibility of another kid or can't financially, right? Why force them when it's still just a bundle of, a couple thousand cells? They haven't even started to differentiate yet. Or if they have, there's no real thing there. There's no brain, there's no heart, What's the harm? We should be able to choose what happens to our bodies. This is it's a argument for autonomy, women's autonomy. It's an argument for just sensibility. There's a financial aspect to this. There's a psychological aspect to this. All right. They are seemingly two very incompatible points of view. Well, like I said, as an exercise, let's see how far into the future we have to go to come to a technological resolution. Understanding there's a couple of different ways to attack this, and there's a couple of different technological paths that could get us to a few different answers. First of all, let's assume that a spiritual reality does exist, and that the mechanism by which the consciousness or the spirit or the soul, whatever, can perceive the world is finally discovered, and even though you can't prove the existence of a god at that point, let's say you can definitively show that there is an extra material something interacting with the brain and the body that alters the way it behaves on a level that cannot just simply be reduced to just like mechanical reactionary sort of a thing. There appears to be some amount of decision making and choice happening in this other area, and then being transferred into the physical. Let's assume this. So the Republicans, right, people that have this mindset are really starting to push down on this one now. Now we have proof that it's not even questionable. There is something that is not material interacting with the brain and the body that alters the way it behaves in a way that it is inseparable from what we define as intelligent. So what are our options? Well, we can work to discover a means of controlling the rhythms of the body. We already have oh my gosh, like hormone regulation, therapies, that sort of a thing, to keep people from getting to that point in their period where they become fertile and actually can get pregnant. But let's go a little further. Let's say we can come up with a way that allows a person to control it mentally, or we're able to give people the with some sort of genetic I guess designer genetics, we can create a new sort of organ that only allows fertilization to happen if the individual truly wants it, or is cognitively, consciously seeking pregnancy. That's a potential, a new type of organ or new type of structure within the female body. We could also make it so on the other end, so a guy can ejaculate without releasing, live bullets, live rounds. They're dead. He can, the same sort of thing, maybe a new type of filtering mechanism, or mind body connection, where they can just think they don't want to release any live ammo. There's other options where if the person does get pregnant, and then before it's not questionable, before it becomes questionably problematic, as to from the more leftist perspective, whether it's an actual living thing yet. Fetal transplants, we're already toying with this one too. Okay, so there's technological resolutions here that don't fly in the face of now something that has been scientifically verified, which was once a belief of the right, of the more religious mindset, but now has been verified. Not all the way, but something strange is some strange interaction that is outside the scope of the physical world. So we can imagine, right, creating regulations around this in ways that protects the individuals that potentially have been raped or got pregnant and then don't want it, or one of the many various, or got pregnant too early. Because that's not only is that dangerous and damaging to the kid, like the 14, 15, 16-year-old kid, but her child, her new baby, is going to grow up in a situation where it's problematic in itself, right? To be born right into a 18-year-old or a 19 or a 17-year-old's arms when the mother hasn't been able to really finish high school or take on any college, and she's focused on the baby. There's financial issues there, and it leads to problematic outcomes, even for the baby. So, right, these things can all be thought through in a way that can be agreeable to both sides. My point is that we need to start exercising our minds in this way. We need to start exercising how we relate to others, how we problem solve, how we come to, resolutions for conflicting interests and ideas and beliefs and philosophies in a way that makes it not a conflict anymore, in a way that makes it, problematic up to a point, but then that problem is resolved because we think outside the box and we have decided to finally come together and talk and conceive of potential possibilities, whether or not they're currently viable. Like, that's an important part, because once you come up with a potential answer, a potential solution, then you can work from there. You can say, well, that's way too sci-fi, right? Can we manipulate this answer and bring it into a feasible realm, into an area where we can potentially address it and develop it within the next 10 years or something like that? But create an answer first. Find an answer first. Republicans and Democrats would no longer be a thing. And we all know how problematic two-party systems are. It's not a question, it's a problem. It's damaging to how we live on so many different levels, to the point where people truly believe when they see somebody that is of an opposing mindset, they will roll their eyes and say something in their mind like, oh, Jesus Christ, I can't talk to him. He's a Democrat, or he's a Republican, or she's a Greenpeace, whatever. The second we start, when we started judging people based on their beliefs instead of getting to know them and understanding who they are, and based on who they are as a person and why they have those beliefs, what their background is, we dug the trench, and it's turned into a gaping gulf between the two ideologies, to where it's almost just head-to-head fighting now. It's nobody wants to sit down and talk to the opposing mindset and look for answers to these problems, which is so frustrating to me to see this happen. I believe it was Abraham Lincoln. And despite the fact that, you know, whatever, history is history. One thing that he did do that was really, I believe, something to honor him with is, or recognize in him, was that he surrounded himself with people of opposing beliefs on purpose to keep him grounded and to keep his mind on track, to keep him, to keep him from creating this sort of, like an echo chamber around him. Instead of surrounding himself with people that have very similar beliefs that are just going to reaffirm, all of his decisions, he surrounded himself with people that are going to question him, that are going to challenge him, and in that, help him grow. Help him see the other perspective. So, my, I guess, challenge to anybody who takes the time to watch this is to sit down and think about the hot button issues in a way, in this sort of way. Just think about them. Right now, the whole trans athlete thing, I think, would be a really good exercise because, again, seemingly something that does not have an answer. Even scientifically, it does. Remember, put yourself into the shoes of the opposing party. Think about what that person sees and perceives. Maybe go talk to a few people with that belief set, that mindset. And instead of getting angry when you're asking them about this stuff, listen to what they're saying. See if you can really understand their perspective. And once you do, see if you can concoct a science fiction means of closing the gap here. If you can, come up with an answer to the question that is being asked, or the problem that is seemingly unaddressable. Anyway, it's just something that I've been thinking about for a minute, and I just wanted to get it up there. I really needed to go get my workout going because it is... I've been here for 22 minutes talking. Okay. But yeah, that's my challenge to you. Unification. Try to understand. Try to find a way to agree or to settle an argument. No matter how sci-fi it might be or how outside the box it is, find something that would work. And once that is found, you can kind of dissect it and see if you can bring it closer and closer and closer. Okay, I'm going to go exercise. With all this snow outside the window. Okay, bye.